In the coming days, weeks, months, and really for years, I will do everything I can to keep us positive in this fight. But today I have some disappointing news about Donald Trump that we have long been dreading, but really dreading since the election was called last night and early this morning. It is about the lawsuits against Donald Trump. It is about his attacks on our democracy, and it is truly heartbreaking to see our system of justice fail as many Americans, millions of Americans, have turned their backs on democracy. Now, before we get into this breaking news about Donald Trump and the DOJ, I think we need a bit of positivity. Positivity I will continue to bring as much as possible. So before we get into this news, I think we should hear from Kamala Harris in her concession speech today.
In our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence. And America, we will never give up the fight for our democracy, for the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect, by looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up, to fight for the dignity that all people deserve. The fight for our freedom will take hard work, but like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work. And the fight for our country is always worth it. It is always worth it.
The arc of history bends towards justice, but it takes a long time to bend at this point. I know we are still all in so much shock from the results of last night's election. I certainly am still, and I am sure I will be for days, weeks, months, if not up until the point that he is sworn in. But what I am incredibly disappointed to report is news that we are getting out of how the DOJ will be handling Donald Trump's cases in the days up until his election, until his swearing in, as president of the United States. And we can hear that from this MSNBC report right here.
Yeah, Chris, it's not a surprise that these cases can't go forward when Donald Trump takes office. What's interesting here is that the DOJ is moving to end them even before he takes office, citing the long-standing DOJ policy that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted. And there was some thought that maybe Special Counsel Jack Smith was going to sprint through the finish line, was going to work up until the last day, force Trump to fire him, wait till a new attorney general was appointed. But that does not appear to be the thinking inside the department. The thinking is that these cases can't go forward. There's no reasonable prospect of getting to trial within the 3 months before Donald Trump takes office. These cases are mired in legal issues that would be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court had Donald Trump lost the election. So now that he's won the election, DOJ officials are thinking that, look, there's just no room to move in these cases. And so the sensible thing to do is to figure out a way to wind them down. And it may stem from Donald Trump's lawyers filing some kind of motion or making a request saying in light of the DOJ policy, you need to drop these cases. Now, there are a few wrinkles here, one of which is that the classified documents case includes 2 other defendants who are not subject to that policy. And it's been dismissed, obviously, but that dismissal has been appealed. And the DOJ considers that ruling to be very bad law that it would like to be overturned. So that appeal may continue in some form. But the reality is that Donald Trump is not going to be a part of these cases. And what this means, I mean, we knew this, right? But just coming to grips with what this means intellectually is that Donald Trump is not likely to be held accountable on these very serious federal criminal charges that many people believe were worse than what Richard Nixon did or was accused of doing in Watergate. Now, there's no guarantee that Donald Trump would have been convicted at trial, but as Joyce Vance, our legal commentator, said to me this morning, what's not going to happen is he's not going to face a jury of his peers who would evaluate the evidence and render a verdict. It's going to be lost to history whether a jury would have found him guilty of these very serious.
I am incredibly disappointed that we could just give up. That knowing that, of course, Donald Trump will, when he becomes president, pardon himself, work to make sure that he is never held accountable for any of the many crimes he has committed as a private citizen, of course, as president as well. Supreme Court already saying that he has total immunity, he can be a king, but no, he'll take it one step further. And then he'll take it one step further for those around him. We have talked so much about how the Trump presidency should not just scare us because of Donald Trump himself, but those around him who he will empower. You are seeing tweets from conservatives like Matt Walsh today saying Project 2025 was, of course, the plan all along, and they were lying when they said it wasn't. We knew it was. No surprise there. But the fact that we are not running through the tape, as that reporter had said, the fact that we are not closing strong, not in an election, but in an attempt to hold a man accountable for his attacks on our democracy. The failure that was the fact that these trials never came to be is something I will never understand. The time it took when the evidence was so clear, the accounts from that day were so obvious and so disturbing that even his own vice president, his chiefs of staff, the officials around him, his cabinet, was willing to testify towards his inaction on that day and his complete contempt for our democracy. And we'll never see him held accountable. That the cases are being dismissed, they're being wrapped up before he even has the chance to do it himself. That we're conceding not just the election, which of course Kamala Harris was right to do, but conceding the fight against a criminal, against an insurrectionist, against a wannabe authoritarian, that we're letting him be a dictator on day one before day one even comes around is sad, is embarrassing. And that the party of law and order doesn't even have to go out of its way to violate our justice system is sad. that this is the state of things right now is sad. I am disappointed. I am upset. I am embarrassed. I apologize that I am not bringing positivity in this video, but this is news that we had dreaded for a while. I wanted to bring it to you truthfully and honestly, as I will every single day through this fight. And if you want to be a part of this with us, you can subscribe to our channel. Leaving a like goes a long way. And if you want to bring a little positivity, a blue heart in the comment doesn't hurt. And until next time, I will see you soon.